Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Radha Farhani from English Education Department in UIN AR-RANIRY. So today I wanna discuss about narrative text. Before we discuss more, I wanna ask you first, have you ever heard about narrative text before? So what is it? Well, to find the answer, let's start our lesson. Well, narrative text is a kind of the text that retell the imaginative or factual story that happened in the past. The story has complication or problematic events and it tries to find the resolution to solve the problems. So, the narrative text can be an imaginative story or a factual story that will explain the events with a continuous plot until the problem in the story is resolved.
Now, let's discuss about the genres in narrative text. The first is fable. It tells about animals. For example, the ant and the dove. Second, myth. It's a story that developed in the community and they believe that events really happened in the past. For example, the story of Nyi Roro Kidul. The third is legend. It tells how the origin of a place exists. For example, the story of Cobeleg. Fourth is folktale. It's a story that is told from generation to generation so that it becomes a part of the community tradition. For example, Malin Kundang. The fifth is fairy tales. It's imaginative stories or children's stories which contain elements of magic or impossibility toward the characters and also contains a moral message. For example, Snow White. And beside that, there are other genres in narrative text such as science fiction, horror, mystery, history, personal experience, and so on.
Okay guys, let's move to the structure of narrative text. It is orientation, and then complication, resolution, and the last is reorientation. The first is orientation. In orientation, it usually begins with the introduction of the characters, when and where the event occurs, the background of the story and other explanation, so that the reader understand and become familiar with the story. Second is complication. Complication tells the beginning of the problem which leads to the climax of the main participants. The problem presented in the narrative usually involves the main characters in a story. In this section, the reader usually begins to know who the antagonists and who the protagonists are. The third is resolution. In this section, the problem in the story began to be resolved. Resolved problems can get better or worse. Later, the story can be a happy ending or a sad ending. The last is reorientation. Reorientation is a section that explains the lesson to be learned from the story. This is a closing remark to the story and it's optional. It consists of a moral lesson or advice from the writer. To make you more understand about the structure of narrative text, let's see the following example.
Next, language features of narrative text. The first is adverb of time. For example, once upon a time, today, one day, yesterday, and so on. Second, past tense. Because it tells the event of the past, the tenses uses is past tense. For example, killed, drunk, went, won, sent, and so on. Third, has specific characters. The use of characters in narrative text must be specific, not general. For example, Malin Kundang, Snow White, Cinderella, and Alibaba. Fourth, Use action verb to indicate the action, such as killed, walk, word, stayed, and so on. Fifth, use direct speech. It is to make the story lively. The direct speech uses present tense. For example, the princess said, "My name is Snow White." And then six, saying and thinking verb. It's to indicate what characters are feeling, thinking, or saying. For example, said, told, thought, decided, and realized. And the last is time connective and conjunction. Each sentence or paragraph continue each other, so there must be connection between those paragraph or sentence. For example, however, although, later, then, and so on.
Well guys, that's all about narrative text for me. I hope you all understand it well. Finally, thank you for watching and see you on the next video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.